Good afternoon. So I got a little update here on the NAR settlement. The Mortgage Bankers Association had sent an email to FHA asking for their take on the commission settlement. FHA replied back, and they did a letter that you can find online, but the email states that buyer agent commissions are not part of the interested party contributions, so it won't impact the 6% allowed by FHA. So basically that means that they won't hold that against the buyer's amount that can be contributed to the buyer's closing costs, prepaids, that stuff. So that's good news for buyers out there. National Association of Realtors has requested a response from the VA on how they're going to view that. I suspect that they're going to have a similar response. I think these agencies are going to have to make some accommodations for the new way we're going to have to conduct business. So we're waiting for the VA to respond. And then also, I'm not sure who's reached out to Fannie and Freddie right now. If buyers' commissions would be counted as interested party contributions. I think their current max is 3% on the Fannie and Freddie loans. So obviously just the commission alone would chew up most of the buyer paid closing costs and stuff. So I suspect that Fannie and Freddie will also fall in line with FHA. So it's good news on FHA. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'll also post a link to their email that they sent out. The mortgage rates, obviously, they shot up just over 7% here after a hot inflation report. So where is it going to go from there? I suspect we're going to probably see it push up closer to 7.5 for a while. I just heard that Iran is launching missiles or something at Israel right now. So I'm going to go top off with cash because I think the markets are going to go crazy. So I have no idea what's going on there, but I suspect that instability will create some difficulties in the marketplace. So I think we got a tough spring ahead of us as far as economic stuff goes for the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. What was interesting is yesterday, the University of Minnesota Law Center did a special conference, and they had a bunch of speakers come there, and they all just kind of discussed their points of view on the NAR settlement. It was kind of interesting. There's Jack Ryan with Rex Real Estate. He got up and is very vocal, very disgruntled towards National Association of Realtors. He calls the NAR a cartel. He compared NAR to OPEC. And he declared that home prices would drop by 10% if NAR was broken up. And then all that money would save the buyers money, and electricians and plumbers would make a lot more money if we didn't have to pay realtors. So I'm not sure how he comes up with that, but he's obviously pretty angry. My understanding is that Rex Real Estate startup he was doing, he was using the buyer and seller services to capture leads to sell auxiliary services to. That was his business model, and he was not a member of NAR, so he was using Zillow. Well, Zillow's a member of NAR now because they're basically a brokerage now. So so his whole business model folded. So you can't use that platform anymore that he was trying to base his real estate off of. So I don't know where he's going with that, but it was a little disheartening listening to him. And then Notorious Rob Hahn had to follow him right away. And, Notorious Rob gets his name because he's usually the vocal one and the disgruntled one. And he immediately pointed out it's a tough act following Jack Ryan. So Rob pointed out that some states write their contracts, not the Board of Realtors. And he brought up specific examples from Colorado. He does a lot of consulting for MLSs around the country. If you're not following him, I recommend you follow him if you're interested in this NAR settlement. He seems to be on top of everything, and he's got insight into the industry. And he's all in favor for shaking up the industry, and for different reasons than Jack Ryan is interested in doing it. But he used Colorado as an example. He's showing that the Colorado buyer rep agreement, there's absolutely zero teeth in that contract. And I forget exactly the one statement that he wrote on there, or he didn't write on there, but he showed, is basically after it talks about what the buyer has to pay in commissions and everything, then the state of Colorado put a line there: under no circumstances does a buyer actually have to pay the agent. Is completely pointless. So he points out examples like that that this is not going to be that easy to implement. These contracts are going to have teeth in there. If we can't publish the payout from the listing agent. Then he also pointed out there's some entrepreneurs out there that have already created websites that are going to verify commissions, because basically it's just you can't post what you're going to pay on the buy side commission. So there's already apps out there that will scour brokers' websites and see what the payout is on the buyer side commission, because they can't be published on the MLS. But a third party can create an app that can go verify the commission, because it can be posted on the brokers' websites. So he thought that that's probably going to be how they do the workaround, and how things kind of go business as usual. It's going to create complications. So after listening to, there's like 4 or 5 speakers, and obviously they're all attorneys and none of them like realtors. So, but it was interesting, some good insight there. So I had kind of further thoughts on this whole settlement. It's the buyers have to have a rep agreement signed as part of this deal, right? So just to even go look at a house, you have to contact an agent to get into the house, and that agent will just assume it has teeth into it, that the buyer is going to be held to pay that commission if they do buy it. So let's say that's true. Now, if a listing agent then gets contacted by unrepresented buyer to go do a showing on the house, technically that agent is going to have that buyer sign a rep agreement before actually showing the house. Now, this kind of runs into kind of a code of ethics, fiduciary responsibility to the seller. So how do realtors handle that situation? Because part of this agreement says that buyer has to be under contract before showing the house, but you have a fiduciary responsibility to that seller to go show the house. So we've got a difficult situation there. I don't know how that's going to be resolved, but under this proposal, even to do an open house, anyone coming into that open house should technically have a buyer rep contract signed. And maybe there's going to be some sort of workaround on that it's going to be a limited time showing, that kind of thing, and just particular for that house. But buyers are going to have to get used to signing paperwork. It's just not a free ride anymore for the buyers. And maybe this will bring down commissions because buyers can't work agents over. Buyers don't really value realtors' times. So realtors are trying to earn, a decent sized commission, but they go through a lot of deals that they never get paid on, right? There's a lot of work. So when they collect on a commission, it's, we've done a lot more work than just open that door. There's a lot more to this business than just unlocking doors. That just cracks me up. I found my house on Zillow and all the agent did was unlock the door. Well, the information on Zillow came from the realtors agreeing to pay each other commissions, and that's where the MLS started. So you wouldn't have that information to begin with. So the National Association of Realtors offered that information for free, basically, and just published it out online. And now, yeah, you get me going on this one. But anyhow, so we do run into situations like that on that buyer rep agreement. So I'm not sure how that's going to unfold. We have till July to figure all this stuff out. And then, a showing by the listing agent, buyers aren't going to be able to work around the buyer's agent that way anymore, because the listing agent's going to have that contract signed by the buyer. So it actually puts realtors in probably a much better position. It'll probably bring some stability to the business, which would be good. And I think it'd be good for the consumer overall. So I'm seeing some plus sides to this the more I think about this. It's not as big a shakeup as I thought. It probably just clarifies on how everyone's getting paid in the transaction. The Department of Justice, the court ruled that the Department of Justice can open these cases back up in the future if they choose to. So if this doesn't turn out the way they want, in a couple of years, I could see the Department of Justice investigating into this again. I don't think this case is going to be overturned by any means, but the Department of Justice has that right to open this back up if things aren't working out properly. So there's a lot of moving parts here. We'll keep an eye on it. If anything else comes on about any news update on that. I'm curious where VA and Fannie and Freddie will come in on the commissions, because those are the big unknowns. The buyers are getting the short end of the stick on this one. But maybe it's going to work out okay. Maybe they're just going to have to commit to an agent they trust, and there'll have to be more professionalism by the agents to contract with these buyers. So maybe it does help clean up the industry. So that's all I got for tonight. So just wanted to share that. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.